Hey everybody, welcome into a special Friday night edition of the Dynasty Pros Devy Show. Tonight we're going to do kind of a running backs summit show for you, where we discuss uh, all types of Devy running backs. We have several different categories we're going to go through. That's going to be coming up next. Hey guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Good, man. Excited
Yeah,
to talk some running backs, but got a good game on tonight too with Oregon and Utah. That's
yeah, I've got that on the background, watching it as we do this.
Mhm.
Um, um, I am Tommy Harvey alongside Andy Pham and SC Romero. We are uh, we are the hosts of the Dynasty Pros Devy Show. We're also missing Justin Taylor tonight. He's having to do some stuff with his bar, so he's not available. But we're going to hold down the fort, and we're going to bring you some running back talk tonight, um, guys. Now we we have some quote unquote can't miss elite running backs in the consensus. Some of these guys, they really include, Braylon Allen and Travion Henderson and Raheem Sanders. And matter of fact, I'm going to pop up a list right here for you. You got Nick Singleton and Quinshawn Judkins. Um, but these are basically the guys who everybody considers, close the closest to elite that you're able to get right now. All that means is that, like I say up here, at least one of them is going to, you know, is probably going to be a bust. That's kind of generally how it goes. Out of this list right here, who do you guys see as potentially being that guy?
Mm. I'll let you go first, Andy, on that one.
I'm gonna go Travion Henderson. I he's done a lot better this year than last year with his injuries. He is explosive, but when I see him, he doesn't want to take on the contact. He looks to avoid it when he can, and I do think it is. He doesn't want that wear and tear on him. Now, when I look at him and I see him run at the next level, I see at best a third down back. Whereas with these other running backs, they have potential to be a three down back. Whereas Travion, because of his lack of certain traits that I see when I look at him, he's probably the one that I would probably say is probably gonna be the one that's probably gonna be the one that if someone misses, it'll be him.
I kind of think that the guy I'm looking at there, who has that potential, who has kind of the lowest floor, in my opinion, is probably Quinshawn Judkins. Um, he he was good last year. Comes in this year, is a little banged up, but he just looks really slow and really stiff, and just kind of like almost like he's almost like he doesn't belong in this top group. And if it wasn't for his freshman season, he probably wouldn't even be considered here. You know, he's there based on name alone right now. You know, what he did last year, because what he's done this year, he's looked slow. He hasn't been good. All these other guys, you're able to say, Rocket Sanders has been hurt, so you can't really go off that. Travion Henderson has looked good this year. Nick Singleton's has done what everybody has expected him to do, and Braylon Allen has, in my opinion, stepped up his game. He's become a more of a receiving back this year. Um, Judkins, in my opinion, is probably that. In my opinion, is probably that kind of that guy who has more of a bust factor.
I'm glad we all disagree here because it gives different takes on everyone. So I'm gonna say Braylon Allen. Actually, I like what he's doing as a running back, but him going into the league, he's gonna be 20 years old. So he's still gonna be very young, which is good in a sense because he's fresh, right? But also to me, it's like, is that age going to play a factor? We've seen some of these running backs that have been going at a younger age, and they're not really doing well. I'm going to say Isaiah Spiller. Eckler's there, but every time Isaiah Spiller's on the field, he's not doing what he looked like he was going to do at that next level. So maybe it's just their IQ isn't quite there quite yet. So I'm gonna just say him. I think that age could play a factor at that next level, playing some of the bigger guys there, and it's a possibility where he just doesn't adjust as quickly as we want. He may be someone that comes in a little bit later, but he doesn't adjust as quickly as we want to that pro level.
Well, we actually have a question here from Mason Riney. He asks, who is the worst at pass blocking of these top running backs? Do any contribute on special teams, and which have the most NFL potential?
I feel like the worst, thinking of it, is probably Quinshawn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm trying to think. Raheem was good when he was on the field. I know Henderson can, Braylon can, and Singleton's a big body that he can. I think Quinshawn has missed a couple, and he's probably, going to what you were saying, Tommy, on the bus, that could be a huge reason. A lot of these guys lose some capital because they don't have that elite pass blocking ability or to pick up that blitz when they need to. And I see Quinshawn as the weakest link there.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there. He also doesn't seem to have as much of the experience in the pass blocking. Travion Henderson last year, even though he was hurt for quite a bit of it, over the last couple of years, he's done quite a bit of pass blocking with CJ Stroud there. Rocket Sanders has proved that he's capable back there. Braylon Allen, just that big body, he has the most potential there. As far as the special teams, I think Rocket Sanders has the most special teams, ability.
Yeah, especially with his background as a former wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I think if any of them do any special teams work, it would be him. And for me, as far as the one with the most NFL potential, it's Rocket Sanders. He's been my RB1. I think he's got everything that you want. He did bulk up to 242 pounds and he got hurt. So you might see him slim down a bit for the NFL, which is a good thing. So,
and I was telling you before the show here, Andy, he's my RB1 as well, and it solidified that with him not being on the field, Arkansas's offense is not looking that same. So he's an impactful player. And I think Nick Singleton has some good NFL potential as well. He's just a pure, talented runner. He's not as versatile as Sanders or even Braylon Allen as far as a receiving back. He can do that, but just in the physical traits, I really like what he can do. And I think, if any team was to transition just to that ground and pound game, he's probably the one they want to go after.
Well, in my opinion, Braylon Allen is the RB1. I have him ranked number one. He's the closest thing to Derrick Henry that I've ever seen. And I think he's a better pass catcher, honestly. The running style is kind of a combination of Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell, where he's just very patient, kind of picks through those blocks, and then sees where the hole develops, and then once he sees that hole, then he busts right through it. Just his size and speed combo is unnatural, really. You don't see that from guys. Again, Derrick Henry is really the only other guy that I've ever seen do that.
That's fair.
All right, our next category is another one that can kind of go either way a little bit, but it's called near the top. All right, and here we're going to talk about guys like Katron Allen, Will Shipley, Donovan Edwards, Trey Benson, and Trevor Etienne. In my opinion, The best of this group is probably Katron Allen or Trevor Etienne. Etienne has great balance. And I'm of the opinion that Katron Allen may be just as good or better than what Nicholas Singleton is.
For me, I'm gonna go with Donovan Edwards. I think his game translates better to the NFL than it does with Michigan. With Michigan, what they want to do is just ground and pound. But Donovan Edwards' style fits the modern day NFL. Get them out in space, just get them the ball, and just have them create. I think Donovan Edwards is the top guy. I do like Katron Allen. He'd be my second choice. And I think everyone knows that Will Shipley doesn't belong, but that's just me. I wouldn't have him on any of these lists.
You know you love some little Shipley. If we're in any leagues together next year, that I'm definitely gonna make sure I offer him to you. With to go off of both of what y'all said, Katron, I loved him. I loved him coming out of high school. I thought he was on my radar, especially if I didn't have that first round pick because I knew Singleton was going. I was like, okay, I'm getting Katron Allen because the way Penn State has been using those running backs, it was just something that if Nick Singleton ever went down, I knew Katron was going to be the guy. And he showed it that he can be the guy. Donovan Edwards, love him way more than Blake Corum. Blake Corum is getting some work that's eating into that, but Donovan Edwards is a nice talent. For my guy near the top, I'm saying Trey Benson. I have him one spot over Katron. Florida State isn't utilizing him as they should. He's someone that he can be an every down kind of guy and get the rock every play. He's a patient runner. He's nothing like too quick or too explosive. He waits for that hole. You just got to give him the rock. And he's one of those running backs that will tear down the defense inch by inch because he moves in a sense slowly because he's waiting for that hole to go and then explode and just tire down that defense for him. So I really like what he can do. And I think at that next level, he's someone that, with that right team, he can definitely make something work because he can be utilized all around the field.
Let me ask you something, Andy. And I probably asked you this before. What about Will Shipley just doesn't do it for you?
I don't think he is athletic enough. I don't think he's fast enough. I don't think his hands are good enough. What he's doing at Clemson, he's being propped up by the system. He's being propped up by, Cade Klubnik not being a good processing quarterback. And with that system, they don't want to throw it deep. You have a receiving room of like Bo Collins, Adam Randall, Antonio Williams. You have all these guys that are there, but they want to run short to intermediate routes. And if Klubnik, doesn't trust it, he just, checks down to Will Shipley. When I see Will Shipley run, I don't see that kind of a game translating to the NFL. I think he is more of that third down back, special teamers kind of a guy. I see him going maybe like in the 4th, 5th round and, just trying to make his name on special teams and then just be that change of pace kind of a back. I just don't like his traits. I don't think in the NFL that game's just going to work. I think he does fine with the system that he's in. I personally think Phil Moffa is better than Will Shipley.
That's actually fair, and that's a guy we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Is Phil Moffa. But we're going to move on to our next category. Our next category is called moving up, and these are guys who are who've been risers over the past couple months. Audric Estime to me has been a huge riser, along with DJ Giddens and Jonathan Brooks. All three of those guys have been kind of seen a meteoric rise. Then you got, Devin Neal has also kind of been a riser, and a guy who actually just scored a few minutes ago, Damian Martinez. People have been high on him, and he's actually been moving up my rankings personally. So I snuck him in here to the moving up. I could have put him in the near the top category also, but I kind of put him here. What do you guys think about these guys?
This is a really good group, and this is a group that I do like. I will probably I probably favor Jonathan Brooks on here the most. He's the guy that I've talked up a lot. When I see him, I see in a true NFL back. I see, him being asked to run actual routes, and I his game translates to the NFL all off season long. We heard about CJ Baxter this, CJ Baxter that, but Jonathan Brooks is holding down that job. Jonathan Brooks isn't losing that job this year. And then the other guy I want to talk about is Devin Neal. When he's had his opportunities, he balls out. And I think he's someone that's definitely going to be moving up and up.
It's funny that you say that with Devin Neal because I actually have it in my notes from watching before everything in them going to college, that 2024 class. I have it that he's probably the most underrated there, and it's because he's going to Kansas. He's not getting that same recognition as of some of your other 2024 backs is, but that kid's smart. He has good vision and good hands. Damian Martinez is one of my favorite ones. Not just because he goes to Oregon State because I'm living in Oregon, but because he's just a strong runner. He keeps his feet moving forward. He's someone that he has some good hit work to get between the tackles if need be, and he has a nice agile move to just make that cut and then go off. So he can run straight through you if he needs to, but he can also shimmy to the outside and make a long play. So I really like him in this moving up category.
Yeah, I actually have to kind of give a shout out here to a guy who really put me on to Jonathan Brooks. I didn't believe him to start with. Lance Reed, RFS commissioner. Both of you guys know who I'm talking about there. But he's a big Texas guy, and he's been pumping Jonathan Brooks for months now. And I've finally jumped aboard the hype train with him.
He's been looking great so far in Texas.
Yeah, he definitely has. Our next category is a rather big one. It's called could go either way, and these are mainly guys that they could flourish or they could really kind of fall off. Just kind of depends on how they perform, and also what they do with kind of pro day and combine and draft prep. Let's throw this list up right here. Guys like Blake Corum is probably the biggest one here in my opinion. He's a big time performer in CFF. He's a big CFF producer, but I don't know if his game translates to the NFL. I want to see what his actual measurables are, and I want to see what his explosive ratings end up being. That's really going to tell the tale for him, in my opinion. Other guys, you're able to see the list here, but you got Jaquindon Jackson. He's hurt right now. He's not playing tonight. I think he kind of has stiff hips, but he's got that body that the NFL looks for. Phil Maffa, you just mentioned him a few minutes ago, Andy. I think he's a good running back. I need to see him on the field a little bit more, mainly because you're just seeing Will Shipley. You're not seeing a whole lot of Phil Maffa. And then another guy that's kind of actually risen quite a bit is Amani Bailey for TCU. Prior to the season, people were thinking Trey Sanders, and nobody was talking about Amani Bailey. But now nobody's talking Trey Sanders. Everybody's talking Amani Bailey there.
Yeah, he was someone that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. And every time he just touches the ball, he's been effective. And so he's someone that I think has some interesting Devy potential, some good traits for the next level. But the guy that I want to talk about is LaQuint Allen. He is someone that I absolutely love his game. If you ever watch Syracuse play, whenever he has the ball, he's making plays. He is when he runs the ball, he runs with a purpose. He has good vision, good size, good speed. When he is catching the ball out of the back, he's catching it and then he's making guys miss and he's making plays. When I look at him, I kind of see a little bit of Tony Pollard when I look at him.
That's fair. And I the Tony Pollard comp is actually really, really good. They're similar size. I think they have, similar skill sets. Pollard it was a was kind of a gadget guy when he was at Memphis, and I think LaQuint Allen could be kind of used that way also. But Syracuse runs more of a, I guess, traditional type running offense. Um,
Some for some of my guys here with like Amarion Hampton, at North Carolina, he seems to be the guy now. He's a 4-star recruit coming out, but he's a shifty runner and he has some explosion to him. Definitely someone that I think also keep an eye on, especially for this upcoming class, because I think he's someone that could go in that 5th round, but be in a team that is of value for the running backs. I also like Corey Kiner out at Cincinnati. I made the comp earlier, Jerome Ford, basically an exact replica of what Jerome Ford was, just a smaller back, big body that can run through your guys, but also hit that hole and just go off and explode for a breakaway speed. And then my sleeper, one guy that it could go either way because he tore his ACL already, and that's Alton McCaskill out of Colorado. He's someone, he broke the rushing touchdown record at Houston his freshman year. He had 16. He's someone that honestly is like a poor man's Trey Benson. I see a very similar run style in there where he's patient, waits for that hole, and then goes off. But how he comes back from that ACL injury this year will be good. We saw a little bit of action from him this past week, and I think that if he's healthy and fully ready to go as he was his freshman year at U of H, that could be a nice weapon for the Colorado offense moving forward.
On this list, do you guys like Bucky Irving at all?
I think Bucky Irving has a good speed profile. I don't know. I don't think he has a whole lot of NFL potential based on his ability, based on his running in between the tackles. I think he's more of a home run hitter, not a NFL style running back.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's more of special teams. To be honest, when Oregon finally said that they got Dante Dowdwell, I was more excited to see him in the backfield than Bucky Irving. I've never really been that big of a Bucky fan, and if he does get drafted, I think it's more for your special teams or even your third string, if not practice squad type of running back.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like the Devy community is so like polarizing on him. Like he's that one back where you're either on one side or the other. There's like no in between.
I think it's when you're on a team like Oregon that has just a nice style offense and scores a lot, it might just raise that recognition, I guess. But yeah, I just don't see it in him.
What are your guys' thoughts on Jaden Ott? A lot of people have kind of. He's another kind of polarizing guy. Some people love him. Some people don't really think he's much of anything. What's your guys' opinion on Ott?
I'm not a fan of him at all. I think, he does well against the lesser competition. If you just box score it, he looks great. But when you actually watch tape on him, I don't think he has any, traits that will make him. He won't be an every down back, but I don't see any traits that will make him even be an effective third down back. I view him as a lesser Bucky Irving.
I was higher on him coming in out of high school than I am when I am now. I just haven't seen what I was gonna be thinking of, like this just straight ground and pound type of running back, and he hasn't really been as explosive as I want him to be. So I mean, I don't even know if he gets drafted, to be honest. I think he's one that, teams may go past on him. If he has a great combine, he might raise up, but I don't see that happening.
And coming into the season, Cal brought in, I think, 2 or 3 portal backs. I mean, they all got
they brought in
hurt.
3.
Yeah,
They brought in the guy from Montana. Then they brought in Justin Williams Thomas, and then they also brought in who's the guy that was at Oregon last year. I'm whiffing on his name.
Or the only guy I could think of is the one that went to UFC, Travis Dye.
Now there was one that was at Oregon last year, transferred to Cal.
Well, as you look that up, we won't have dead space. So I'll talk about someone else while you look that up.
Byron Cardwell.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
How do you guys feel about Marshawn Lloyd? Like, he's done really well this year at USC.
He's too often hurt from what I've seen. When he was at South Carolina, he was hurt all the time. So it was really hard to get a read on him. And with running backs, you don't want to see them hurt all the time because it really affects the way you see their durability. Even if it may just be a freak injury or whatever. And they may not necessarily be injury prone, but if you see them have multiple injuries, then you're just like, well, that guy's not durable. I don't see, I don't see him having much of a future. Now he very well may have an NFL future, but I've just seen him hurt way too many times.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And it's hard when you're on a team that has the top QB or a top QB, right? So I mean, I feel like he won't be scouted properly because you are going to be watching what Caleb's doing and what those wide receivers are doing with him. Someone that could have the potential, but I don't think he's going to show enough at a college level that a team's going to give him that opportunity that he could get.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to our next category. This is basically for sophomore running backs or redshirt freshmen, whatever, second year running backs. That haven't done a whole lot for their programs, whether that be because of injury or just stuck behind somebody or what have you. Main guys on this list, Branson Robinson. He was expected to kind of have a kind of a breakout year this year at Georgia, and then he got hurt, is missing the entire season. So we're still waiting on him to prove it. Jaden Blue, still waiting on him to prove it. Kind of thinking he was going to kind of be that second back behind CJ Baxter. Now he's probably the third back behind Jonathan Brooks and CJ Baxter. Still waiting on him. Trevante Citizen. We want to see him healthy. We want to see what he's got. Jamarian Miller out of Alabama. That backfield is just so crowded. I don't know if we're ever going to see him there. And then the 2 Oklahoma backs with Sawchuk and Barnes. Sawchuk didn't do much of anything last year. Barnes has done a little bit more, but with these guys, I think they're all kind of a wait and see.
Yeah, like in this list, like Branson Robinson, I don't think he's gonna be able to do it at Georgia just because they're like a factory. They always bring in new 5-star, high 4-star guys. So that injury really sucked. But the guy that I probably had the highest hopes for is Jam Miller, but I think he's another one that's gonna have to transfer out because he's kind of in that stuck position. He's not getting the playing time this year. Roydell Williams is getting more like. Jam Miller was the RB2 for Alabama coming into the season, and then Roydell Williams has kind of outplayed him. So he's kind of in that situation where he has Justice Haynes behind him. That's going to be a sophomore next year. It's kind of a numbers crunch for Jam Miller. He might have to transfer out, kind of like some of the other backs have for Alabama, but he's probably the only one on the list for me, just because the 2 Oklahoma guys, they're being outplayed by a walk-on right now. And then next year they have Tatum coming in. He's a high 4-star guy. So that's another backfield where it's that numbers crunch.
Yeah, I mean, second Branson, man, don't break my heart with Branson Robinson because he was getting comps to Nick Chubb and Fournette, and he's someone that it's explosive. What I'm hoping for him is he gets that 1 year production at Georgia, and it's just like a solid foundation. And it's like, oh, he went to Georgia, he can still be it, right? Because the kid was built like a brick house. I mean, he was squatting 700 pounds and just dominating. So that injury really hurts. And I had him in almost every one of my leagues. Only league I traded him in was for a quarterback, and I got Drew Allow out of it. But definitely a solid running back. Trevion Citizen, man, I was high on him coming out as well. And that healthiness just hurts. And I think that's why I was higher on Mark Fletcher too, or why I am higher on Mark Fletcher than a lot, because I haven't seen a healthy Trevion Citizen. So I was like, okay, maybe Mark Fletcher will get that shot. Now you're seeing Parrish come out and do some work. So it hurts for him. Jadon Blue, he was there was rumor that he was going to transfer at first, if I'm not mistaken, during the offseason, and I think that would have done him well. I know he came back, but it's like, man, they got the top running back in the country in Baxter. Like, go ahead and just deuces. It's okay to leave, right? And I think that would have actually helped him more than him staying at a solid program like Texas. Jamario Miller, he's going to make his name as a receiving back. He has great hands. He's a speedy threat. He can make that play. And we've talked about before, just the Alabama offense to me isn't anything what I want to see. They have so much talent out of there. And whenever I look at quarterbacks, that's why I always say be wary when you watch those quarterbacks, because they have so much talent. It's hard to fail, but they're failing right now. And it's kind of sad because you like everyone at every position on that offensive side, and we're just not seeing what they can do.
Well, here's a little bit of a Devy alert for you. Watching this Utah and Oregon State game, Aidan Chiles is in the game for Oregon State now, and it's not just a package. Like he's in there, he's running the offense, throwing passes. So that's a little bit of a Devy alert there for you.
Love some Aidan Chiles.
Yeah, I think he's got big time potential. Our next category are these G5 guys don't really get a whole lot of love, mainly because people don't really expect a whole lot of them at the next level. But we've kind of identified several guys who have quite a bit of potential, who we think have a future in the NFL. Ashton Jeanty and Ali are probably the top two guys. But then you got Blake Watson, who has just kind of done what Memphis has kind of produced in the past with Antonio Gibson and with Calvin Austin and with Tony Pollard. And then Kavorian Barnes, I think, has a lot of potential. Jalen Buckley. What all are you guys seeing out of these guys? Who are your favorites, and who do you think is a dark horse?
I think on this list we all have our guys, so I'll just talk about my guy on here, and that'd be Jalen Buckley. Jalen Buckley has produced versus G5 schools and a Power 5 school. When they played Syracuse, he broke off a 75-yard touchdown run, and then people want to say he had 7 other carries for, I believe it was like 10 total yards or whatever it was, but Western Michigan was down 35-0 at halftime, so that game script got out of hand. When it was still somewhat close, he broke off that 75-yard run. I think he's someone that is going to produce mass numbers this year at Western Michigan. Western Michigan's a horrible team. I think he's someone that ends up transferring up to a Power 5, and then we get to see, better, competition. As far as the guy that's kind of a dark horse, I'll go with Rasheen Ali, just because I already talked about Jalen Buckley. I think Rasheen Ali is that dark horse to make it to the NFL, possibly get, maybe late day 2, but more likely day 3.
I like those. Austin Gentry's been doing well, and I'll shout out Jay Goody of the Dynasty Pros team, because I was high on George Laney, and he was the one that said, watch out for Austin Gentry too, and he hasn't been wrong. Austin Gentry's been that guy for him. Rasim Ali has that body build. For Blake Watson, though, I mean, Memphis is a low key running back factory. I mean, just in the past years, we've seen some solid running backs come out of Memphis. You had D'Angelo Williams, Darrell Henderson, Antonio Gibson, Kenneth Gainwell, now Tony Pollard too, right? So definitely someone to keep an eye on because they know how to use those running backs and get them ready for that next level, at least to be someone a consistent, not necessarily your every down back, but someone that can have some longevity in that league and be something for you. A dark horse, is the UTEP running back Torrance Burgess. This guy is way undersized. He's like 5'6", under 180. But in the way the running back is trying to transitioning, or you're seeing some of these smaller guys get some draft capital or even just make a chance to make a shot, he's someone to keep an eye on. He's nice and shifty. Maybe it's because he's small, people don't see him, but he's definitely someone that can possibly be a gadget back, and just be someone that you need on that third down to make that little play, because he has some nice speed to him as well. And maybe again, because it's small, he's getting through all the tall linebackers and defensive linemen, but man, if he's in that open field, you're not catching him.
Yeah, again, these are just some group of five guys that have a pretty decent shot at having an NFL future. Keep an eye on these guys moving forward. If they end up with any type of draft capital at all, or even a solid landing spot as an undrafted free agent, definitely look towards possibly drafting them in your upcoming rookie draft, your supplemental rookie draft, if they're not owned in a as a Devy asset.
Shout out to Ray McBride from UAB, who got drafted by his practice squad.
Yep. Our next couple categories, they're going to be about freshmen. The next one we got is called Next Up. And these are guys that have elite, quote unquote, elite traits that we're really looking at, and guys who we think, also pretty much the entire Devy community thinks that these guys are your next elite running backs. CJ Baxter out of Texas, Justin Haynes out of Alabama. Yeah, I've got the list up. You guys are able to, you guys are watching, are able to read it. But we got Ruben, I know SC's favorite here is Mark Fletcher. Go ahead and talk about him.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, that guy is just a nice runner. I loved everything about him. In this class, he was behind Baxter and Ruben Owens for me. Just a solid runner that keeps his feet moving forward. He's a big body from American Heritage High School, so was a top high school in the nation that he's playing for. Definitely transitions well into it, and we already saw it. We've already seen it at that college level that he can take the rock. He can be the guy. He can catch it out the backfield. Honestly, the size is like a Derrick Henry size. Does he run like that? No, not necessarily, but he has that size and he has that speed that you want in a running back to either go through the tackles or cut it on outside. He's definitely someone that you want to keep an eye on because there is a chance he gets some good capital, draft capital, when that time comes.
And my guy is obviously Cameron Seldon. I think the world of him. Like I could gush over him for an hour. I think he is going to be an absolute stud. It'll probably take next year for him to get a lot of snaps, but I think he is someone that you should be buying if you're in a C2C. You should be buying him. And then Justice Haynes, he has all the makings of being that next, top Alabama running back. Go back to the spring game. I think he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. Nick Saban was talking up that freshman. Nick Saban never talks up a freshman. So yeah, he has to wait his turn. He'll probably get some more snaps next year. And if that room is as depleted as we think it is, he might be the guy next year there.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to when Alabama has been most dominant, it's when they've relied on 1 or 2 running backs, not 4 or 5 of them. And Justice Haynes has that type of potential to be really leaned on to carry a big time load for that offense. Guys, Um,
Cool.
obviously, I'm with you there, Andy. I really like Cam Seldon. Being a Tennessee guy, I just I don't know how much run he's really going to get in that offense, especially since everybody could potentially be back next year. Um, Jalen Wright could come back. Jabari Small could even come back, and obviously then you got Dylan Sampson still there. So even next year, he could potentially still be the fourth running back next year. That's kind of scary whenever you think, um, whenever you think that your your high caliber Devy asset is just sitting there and not really getting any type of carries. Um, Roderick Robinson has actually looked fairly decent this year at Georgia, also.
Mhm.
Um, Now, granted, I Georgia has is another team that uses just a stable of running backs. You got Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton, and they Branson Robinson would have factored in if he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Now you have Roderick Robinson, Andrew Paul. They're all getting carries.
Yeah.
um, but CJ Baxter and Justice Haynes were probably considered your two top backs coming into the season as far as freshmen. But our next category are guys or other freshmen that we're keeping an eye on. Um, it's called freshmen we're tracking. These are just guys that we want to see what they do. Um, we want to see what they bring to the table and how they're used over the next couple of seasons. Darius Taylor has actually, he's become the guy there in Minnesota as a freshman. Minnesota likes to really lean on one guy. They've done it for the last several years with Mo Ibrahim. Now it looks like they're doing the same thing with Darius Taylor. Um, I've seen some pretty good potential at a Jeremiah Love there over at Notre Dame, spelling Audric Estime from time to time. I know SC is high on Dante Dowdle. I'm really high on Caden Fegan. I think that guy may be the next Braylon Allen.
And I'll talk about a guy who probably hasn't played a single snap this year, and that's going to be Kijik Riscano out of Ole Miss. He is someone that Lane Kiffin personally went to his high school games to recruit him. He did the same thing for Quinshawn. Now, Ulysses Bentley is a senior. He's gotten Senior Bowl hype, so he's gone after this year. Quinshawn Judkins will be a junior next year. If Riscano doesn't play the 4 games, they'll redshirt him. He'll be a redshirt freshman, and he'll hopefully work in next year, probably like a I don't know 65-35 split maybe. And then Quinshawn's gone to the NFL, and then you'll have Riscano who hopefully will be a lead back for his redshirt sophomore and his redshirt junior season. So he's someone that you can buy really low, and it could blossom for you.
I know we were talking about Justin Hayes earlier, but I mean, watch out for Richard Young, man. That guy is someone that he is just a speed freak. And you were talking about it earlier, Tommy, where Alabama, notoriously uses those one or two backs. If they have Justin Hayes and Richard Young both just ready to go, that's scary. That is a scary running offense with potential there. Dante Dowdwell, man, just a big body back that knows how to run between your tackles and break off some tackles, has some good fit work, some good vision, and he can also block. So I really like the potential that he can bring. Someone not here is going to be Trayon Webb from Florida now. He's someone that he was on the varsity team since his 8th grade year. So he had 5 years on varsity in high school, just a high caliber player. And I think he's another athlete that when you watch him, you're going to see, wow, this guy is agile and shifty. He can be between the blocks if need be. He's a big body, almost of what they saw in Take Bigsby. I think we can see a similarity with Trayon Webb there.
So when I'm looking at this list, obviously Darius Taylor already, has a lot of playing time. But another guy that has an easy path next year is going to be DJ Braswell at South Carolina. He has an easy path. Caleb Jackson could be in a timeshare next year. Caden Fegan could have an easy path, but there are some guys on this list that might have a tough path, and they might end up being in the portal.
Yeah, you talked about Caleb Jackson there. There's another freshman I'd like to keep an eye on there over to LSU. That's Trey Holly. I think both of them could be a really nice 1-2 punch for LSU over the next couple of seasons if they would just really move away from using these guys that we just don't want to see.
And with Darius Taylor, Muhammad Ibrahim was a beast before he got injured. And yet when he came back, he was still a beast, right? And to be truthful, if Montgomery wasn't there in Detroit and they drafted Ibrahim and he came out, he could possibly fit that role. Minnesota produced Lawrence Maroney. They produced Marion Barber. Darius Taylor is a freshman right now doing that work. So, don't want to get high because we're seeing the Quinton Johnson effect, right? Where he's, freshman did all the work, and now it's like, wait, hold on, let's back it up a little bit. But at Minnesota, with him doing it, man, it's looking really nice for Darius Taylor right now.
Yep. Well, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for us tonight. I hope we were able to bring you some good information. I hope you guys enjoyed what we had to say about everybody. Andy, SC, go and tell us where we're able to find you and what you guys are working on.
You can find me at Andy_fam1. Monday we'll be doing an article with this past week of games where we have a stock up, stock down, and C2C names to watch. In the middle of the week, we'll drop a player profile, and at the end of next week, we'll have a week 6 preview of Devy and C2C games.
Nice. Find me on X at the PPR Show, doing a thread for college football learnings, quarterback on Sundays, running back Mondays, wide receivers Tuesdays, and then IDP on Wednesday for both college and NFL. Thursdays dropping my rankings of where I have it per position, even IDP included. Friday hasn't came out yet, but definitely a content one just to tell you some fellow content creators, people to follow and listen to, like y'all two, for example. And then Saturday, we're enjoying some college football. Every Thursday on RPO, I drop my start sit article for IDP players of the NFL.
As always, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, give us a share, hit the notification bell if you want to know when we go live. Also, make sure you're following us on Twitter or X, whatever it is you're wanting to call it now. We'll keep providing you with whatever info and content we decide to put out. Also go to dynastyprosfootball.com. We have all of our rankings there. All of our content is also on there. Trade value charts. We have a trade calculator, IDP rankings, Devy rankings, Dynasty rankings. All that stuff is available there for you. Again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'm Tommy Harvey for Andy Pham and SC Romero. We will see you guys, I guess, on Tuesday.